here to talk about the status of the human rights situation in the United States of America, the land of notable distinctions, the military superpower, one of the most affluent countries on the planet, a place of many wealthy individuals, a place of charitable donations, and many more good things about it. However, very recently, a disturbing video went viral on social media. It was of a school in Texas. An affluent Indian American boy was seen being bullied in the cafeteria of the school by a white boy of his age. The white boy asked the Indian American boy to get up from his seat, which he refused. The next thing, the white boy forcibly choked the Indian American boy for close to some seconds, circulated on social media. The next thing is even more shocking, the action taken by the school. The school has suspended the Indian American boy. Just look at it. He has been suspended for 3 days. That innocent boy has been punished. The perpetrator, the bully, he has been suspended for 1 day. Innocent has been punished more severely. The perpetrator gets a lighter punishment. This is the justice system of United States of America. The bully boy was a white, and the other one an Asian and Indian American. White supremacy is a reality. In 2022, it's a reality. It is ingrained in the system. Bullying in schools is normalized. Justice system is partial. Minorities are treated badly. This is the reality of the country. A few days back, 4 or 5 days back, 10 people, all blacks, they were massacred in a mass shooting in a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. The gunman was a teenager, a 18-year-old boy. He came in military gear and he had a camera in his helmet and he live streamed the shooting. 11 people who were killed, they were black. The victims were black. 3 were wounded before he surrendered. This is disturbing. More disturbing is the motive. Look at it. He's a teenager. He live streamed the shooting. He was heavily armed. He spent months in his bedroom planning for it and preparing for this brutal racist attack. He planned meticulously. He selected his gun and parts. Then he modified his rifle to carry more bullets. He said he would keep killing until dead or confronted by police. Joe Biden, he had to accept it that white supremacy is a reality. Of course, he said that we cannot live with this is evil, and we must in fact do away with. But This is something which is happening in that country which talks of democracy, which talks of human rights in the loudest voices. I present before you some of the findings of our report. Mainly, we are the two writers. The first writer, Arvind Kumar, he is an Indian American. He has been working on the rights issues for the past decades. And we use the reports of international agencies, government departments, and other reports. So, some of the findings which I present here, they are that racial discrimination is deeply, deeply entrenched into the system. Even the Constitution, it has some of the provisions which are discriminatory. There is a clause which is 3/5 clause which says that Native Americans, their counting will be done not on equal basis, but they will be counted 3/4. So the fundamental principle of equality, it is not there. There is a clause which even today is there, which has not been done away with. It is the 3rd clause of the 4th article of USA Constitution, which says that the slave people and enslaved people, they will be a property and they can be, they should be returned back to the owner. And in spite of the fact that slavery is no more legal, that clause is there. Then the systemic issues are very, very important. Racism and corruption, they are entrenched in the legal system and judiciary. The law enforcement agencies, legal system and judiciary have built up a reputation for corruption and racism. Racism is institutionalized in political parties. There are two parties, mainly two parties, and they are so hypocritical in their conviction to end racism. They have done nothing. They have not framed a comprehensive policy to eradicate it. Leaders of both the political parties, they have made racist remarks on multiple occasions, venting out their ingrained racism. Then minorities, their representation in media and academia, it is very, very less as compared to their population. Those minority members who are there in the system, they embrace the agenda of the white supremacists. Blacks are not allowed easily into the faculty in the universities despite the existence of a large number of qualified black candidates. Moreover, blacks and other minorities, they are used as pawns by organizations. Instead of treating blacks, Hispanics and Muslims as equals with respect, they are used as puppets by the white supremacist political establishment. They use intermediaries from each ethnic or religious group. Most of the black organizations, they are controlled by whites. Poverty. We looked at the data of poverty. And again, the situation is very, very bad. The people of the black majority live, and forces black women to get abortion. And then the white savior complex, it is a reality to have a photo shoot by the celebrities with a black person and to get advantage of it. Appropriation of Native American culture. This too is a reality. Even today, segregation in churches, it happens. At one point of time, it was said that on Sundays from 11 to 12, they are the most segregated hours. Many pastors of black churches, they too are controlled by whites. The government labels disparaging terms for universities run by blacks. You can see the racism in immigration policies. Now coming to religious discrimination. It is so widely prevalent, yet very less talked about discrimination in the USA. Religious minorities, particularly non-Abrahamic religions like Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jains, they face discrimination. Minority Buddhist and Hindu temples and mosques in USA, they face routine violent attacks. And now I come to ethnic discrimination against indigenous people, the Native Americans. If any biological war did happen against anybody on this planet, it was against the Red Indians, the Native Americans. The white supremacists who had gone from Europe, they used all possible ways to eliminate them. And there is that estimate that 90% of the population of Red Indians at that point of time, it was just eliminated within some time. Now, even today, the ownership of land of Native Americans is not with them. It is with the federal government. The US government keeps Native Americans in poverty by not allowing them to manage their own lands. Federal government is there in charge. And this has been going on since 1831, where the judgment of a court had come, wherein the federal government was made the guardian and the indigenous people the wards. So that kind of relationship between the government and the people of American origin, it was made. They have made many efforts, but till date, their struggle continues and the situation again continues. We looked at the data. Native Americans had their income 68% below than the USA average. 20% of the households were earning less than $5,000 annually, which is, if we compare it to the national average, this is just 6%. The rape of women is 2.5% higher than the national average. Child abuse rate, it is double. The identity of Native Americans has been appropriated by white politicians for their own advantage. Now coming to gender discrimination and violence. I feel lucky that I was born in India. I was going through the data. The way women are mistreated. There was a data which we went through. School-going girls from the standard of 7 to 12, there was a survey. And almost half of them, 46% of them in that survey, they had gone through some kind of sexual harassment or some kind of sexual. That is the reality. Sexual exploitation. It is normalized in schools and universities. I, as an Indian, cannot think of it. Look at the data. It is so high. 48% students, as I said, that they faced some kind of sexual harassment in 1 year, that year of study. The study was conducted on around 2,000 students. Campus rape rate in that particular survey was around 19%. Same way, pregnancies, teen pregnancies, look at the data. The men in power, they sexually exploit women. It's a matter of great concern. Statistics show that nearly 1 in every 5 American women has been the victim of rape or attempted rape. With political names, they have figured in sexual exploitation cases, including the presidents of the country. Women are treated as inferior, even by the American media and the government. And another thing, women and feminist organizations, they are controlled by men, some of them, some prominent of them. Some of them have been used by our American government to advance their political agenda. I'll give one example, which is a well-known fact, that the feminist icon of the 1960s and 70s, Gloria Steinem, was in fact a CIA agent. Sexual abuse of children. As per a report in 2014, there are an estimated 42 million survivors of child sexual abuse in the United States of America. It is so rampant among government officials and powerful politicians. But such abuse is either covered up or the perpetrators are left off with life sentences. Domestic violence. Again, that data is huge. Gender discrimination at the workplace. As per a study, 42% of working women say they have experienced gender discrimination at the workplace. And 25% working women were paid less wages as compared to men for the same work. Democracy there. Democracy is there in name, not in action. Democratic processes are not available to everyone. Election processes, they are controlled and rigged by government as well as political parties. Political parties manipulate electoral rolls. Many types of election frauds are rampant. You will be surprised that everyone there, all the citizens, do not have a voter identity card. Against getting it done. And another thing, you will be surprised, because they have the ballot system. I can give you many examples. Then counting is going on, and then suddenly, when they realize that their party candidate is losing, so some bag full of ballots is found. And it has not happened once or twice, at multiple times. So that discovery of uncounted votes, ballots, it is found and no kind of eyes have it, eyes have it. And there are videos which show that they have, in 2-3 videos which I saw, that there was a teleprompter. They had a pre-decided script and they had to read it out. Whether there was no or yes, they had to say yes, so it was yes. That kind of system. What kind of democracy is this? Political parties. So, in a way, there are 2 approved political parties. So, it means those who are not Democrats or those who are not Republicans, where do they go? And they want to articulate their own views and aspirations. They are excluded in participating in politics, and they are branded as extremists by the establishment which consists of the government, the universities, the media, and the other institutions. So this official sanctioning for the 2-party system, it subjugates more than half the population of the United States of America, who does not identify as either Democrats or Republicans. Voting rights of blacks, Hispanics, and other minorities are suppressed. As I said, the political parties in the USA, they have resisted all efforts to provide voter identification cards to black American citizens. So it's a big, big fraud. Systemic irregularities in the voting system of several states in the United States of America. So, as a result, European white supremacists, that political power, it still subjugates blacks. State officials at multiple occasions have indulged in the intimidation of candidates. After the year 2000, 1,300 cases of voter fraud, they occurred. To another point, USA interfering into the at the international level and creating humanitarian crisis in many countries. You give aid, help to refugees, but you create refugees by creating wars. There is a survey which says, Watson Institute for International and Public Affairs survey which says, study which says that a total of 9.2 million displaced people as a result of the American war on Iraq. They were there. In Afghanistan, 5.9 million people. In Somalia, 4.3 million people. In Yemen, 4.6 million people. In Libya, 1.2 million people. In Syria, 7.1 million people. Overall foreign policy of USA is racist in nature. USA wants to control all the resources of the world, all the politics of the world, and control the opinion of everybody in the world. This is achieved through various means, including persuasion, inducement, creation of strife, and use of force. Now coming to NATO. USA has maneuvered affairs of other countries through NATO. NATO works as a pawn in spreading conflict and violence in many countries. If I take the case of Afghanistan, 241,000 people were killed in the Afghan war, which includes 71,000 civilians, that war which was initiated by the USA, using the false pretext that the war was in response to the terrorist attacks against the USA on 11 September. None of the terrorists on the Twin Towers, they were not Afghans. Taliban regime in Afghanistan itself is a creation of the US government. The number of deaths between 1990 and 2000 is estimated to be 1,000,000,060. The takeover by Taliban has precipitated yet another humanitarian crisis with 3.5 million Afghans internally displaced within Afghanistan and another 2.2 million refugees. Take the case of former Yugoslavia. The US is responsible for creating a civil war in the former Yugoslavia by exploiting religious divisions and then relentlessly bombing Belgrade in 1999, creating a massive refugee problem. At least 130,000 people lost their lives in the wars in former Yugoslavia. It was also, this war was fought against two falsehoods. One was that the war was retaliation against the terrorist attack on the US. And second was that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, which never was in fact found. Syria. It is estimated that at least 350,000 people had died in Syria as a result of the war. Ukraine. 5.7 million refugees leaving their homes and going to other countries. 6.5 million are displaced. So this war too, it owes to somewhat to the expansion of the NATO issue. Religious wars of the US State Department. There is a tool which is used, United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, which uses religious tests while hiring its personnel and use the word through the lens of religion. Routine bombing of Shia Muslim countries, depleted uranium against the people of Serbia. You talk of free speech, freedom of expression, free press. Think that America, United States of America, has all that. Very recently, the government has created a disinformation governance board. Free speech rights, they are suppressed in the universities. Government colludes with USA media and interference in the media of other countries. If you remember, from 2001 to 2010, more than 250,000 cables were released by WikiLeaks relating to the USA State Department, which throw light on various aspects of the USA diplomacy and government's work. The media has been forced to routinely indulge in censorship when it involves the crimes committed by government officials. Internet control. Yes, USA has indulged in online surveillance from the earliest days of the internet. It is done their own accusations in an effort to shift the blame for its own actions to other countries. The FBI implemented a surveillance software which was called Carnivore in 1997. And when it was exposed and resulted in a major controversy in the media, it merely changed the name of the surveillance software. Barack Obama administration, there was much about it in the media also that that administration abused its power and snooped upon Obama's political opponents. The USA uses the academia to advance its political agenda. The National Defense Education Act, which was enacted in 1958, it resulted in the government providing massive funding to educational institutions. As a result, American universities, they have lost their freedom and have become subservient to the interests of the US government's policies. American universities, they continue to be the main entities that support the US state government and its propaganda. Economic control over other countries using illegitimate means. USA has been manipulating economies of other countries in multiple ways. I'll give you a few examples. Climate change, it has been used as a kind of tool. By imposing the climate agenda, specifically insisting that 1990 and 2005 be the baseline years to measure the acceptable level of pollution by each country. It is nothing but a system of international license permit raj, with the US and the EU in charge of selling the pollution licenses. A new global financial system has been created. USA has set into motion an effort to lobby and pressure other countries to join a new global financial system. Then use of international organizations as American agencies. Misuse of International Monetary Fund, World Bank, because they were created in such a manner that they grant an edge to the United States and its allies over control of the global economy. The US dollar was made the global reserve currency, giving an unfair advantage to the USA, which is nothing but economic imperialism. And now, COVID-19 and how the lives of people, they were risked. USA is one of the most developed countries. It has advanced medical infrastructure. But due to the mismanagement at all the government levels, the pandemic had a devastating effect on the USA population. In September 2020, the number of people with confirmed infection, they were almost 25% of the world infections, whereas its population is only 4% of the world population. So, in spite of the big medical resources and infrastructure, including expert human resources, due to the mismanagement, the coronavirus could not be controlled. Many experts are of the view that much went wrong with the USA's response to the pandemic, and it was preventable. Whereas the countries with lesser resources, India, Thailand, South Korea, Australia, they could bend the curve downward due to decisive steps taken by their governments. Now, on the one hand is mismanagement, and on the other hand is discrimination during the COVID pandemic. COVID deaths in USA, they are proportionately not equal to the population. They have affected the blacks and the Hispanics the most. The fatalities of blacks, Hispanics, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders represented a higher share as compared to their share of the total population was 24%. Similarly, the other segments which I have mentioned. And another thing, that the US government did was, of course, it was utter disregard to the human life. Yet on the other hand, the American oligarchs made money out of the pandemic. These are entirely different. We think, okay, the developed countries, they must be high on the human rights issues. After doing this report, I'm actually very disturbed. I never realized that the problems were so ingrained, so deep. As other countries, they must look at their own backyard. What has happened to their native people? What has happened to their black people? What has happened to them? Whatever I have said, all is database. We have given around 40 pages of resources which we have taken out, the sources which we have used, they have been given at the end of the report, 40 pages of it. I have not said anything as my opinion. Everything is fact-based, data-based. So you can go.
ये बताइए ये क्या वैल्यूएशन रखती है in the complete scenario, world scenario. USA is a country, human rights के लिए आप रख रही हैं. ये बताइए इसका महत्व क्या है, इसकी मूल्यांकन कैसे करें इसका, ये बताइए आप.
आधार पर हमने तैयार किया है. हमने वहाँ के लोगों से बात की है, स्टेक होल्डर से बात की है, इंटरव्यूज किए हैं. हमने स्टेट की जो वेबसाइट से डेटा को यूज किया है. तो कोई भी करे चैलेंज, हम जवाब देने के लिए तैयार हैं.
अन्य बातें क्या जो आपके एलोबरेट रिपोर्ट है उसमें दी गई है? अन्य बातें, प्रमुख बातों का जिक्र है आपकी रिलीज में. क्या अन्य बातों का जो जिक्र है वो कहाँ है? वो आपकी बड़ी रिपोर्ट पे,
जी,
एलोबरेट रिपोर्ट पे.
जी. बाकी ये सबको पूरा इस तरह से पेज निकाल के देना, प्रिंट आउट, हमें लगा कि हाइलाइट्स कम से कम सबको प्रोवाइड करा दें ताकि आपके पास हैंडी डेटा हो या हैंडी फैक्ट्स हो, ताकि आप अपनी रिपोर्टिंग में उसको यूज कर सकें.
इंडियंस का क्या नुकसान हो रहा है वहाँ पे? मोदी जी जा रहे हैं, everything is very good, you know. Means Indians are not complaining. He was recently in various countries, and whenever he's going to overseas, so he's getting a warm welcome and there's no complaint. When you're talking about blacks, so blacks, the community, they are into a lot of crimes. They are into multiple crimes. Even the whites are into the crimes. We have blockbusters, we have so many things. So we understand India-US relationship, or we understand United Nations, or today we are talking about Ukraine, Russia war, and NATO, you know, so everything. So is this report coming for any particular reason at this point of time? And I don't understand, means if we are not happy with US, the whites, India में हम लोग अपनी community में एक दूसरे के दुश्मन हैं. So essentially this report has been published in the US. Has it got any legal sanction at the US UN levels?
तो मैं बिल्कुल स्पष्ट कर दूं कि हमारा किसी सरकार से कोई लेना देना नहीं है. मोदी जी वहां जा रहे हैं या भारत वहां क्या कर रहा है, भारत की फॉरेन पॉलिसी क्या है, यूएसए की फॉरेन पॉलिसी क्या है, उसका हमें कोई मतलब नहीं है. हम एक मानवाधिकार संस्था हैं और एक मानवाधिकार संस्था होने के नाते हमने ये अध्ययन किया है और उसके आधार पर अपनी जो हमारी फाइंडिंग्स है उसको हमने लोगों के सामने रखा है. हम कोई ऐसी एजेंसी नहीं है कि बहुत प्रभाव ला सके. हम तो इतना ही कह सकते हैं कि मीडिया में लाके सच्चाई लोगों के सामने रखें. बाकी सरकारों को करना है जो कुछ करना है. लोग मोदी जी के जाने से खुश हैं या नहीं खुश है वो हमारा बिल्कुल स्टडी का एरिया नहीं है. और हमने पहले 7 देशों का अध्ययन किया है. ये हमारी 8वीं रिपोर्ट है. तो हमने यूएसए में ही क्यों किया या हमारे को यूएसए सरकार की कोई वहां से सैंक्शन लेना पड़ा, परमिशन लेना पड़ा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. हम तो एक जैसे एक रिसर्चर होते हैं, अध्ययन करते हैं. हमारी टीम एकेडमिशियंस की है, मीडिया पर्सन्स की है, हमारे साथ लॉयर्स लोग हैं, जजेस हैं, हमारा नेटवर्क है सभी इन देशों में जहां हमने काम किया है. और हम सच्चाई लोगों के सामने सिर्फ और सिर्फ मानवाधिकार के पर्सपेक्टिव से रखना चाहते हैं और वो ही हमारी कोशिश रही है. उसको अगर सरकारें कोई इस्तेमाल करें तो हमें कोई उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. लेकिन हम सरकारों के लिए ना तो काम कर रहे हैं, ना हमारी उनके प्रति कोई जवाबदेही है और ना हमारा कोई फॉरेन पॉलिसी से लेना है.
Hello ma'am, this is Shivani.
कि महिलाओं को लेकर हमारे यहाँ पर भी स्थिति अच्छी नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी मैं कहूँगी कि आप तथ्यों के आधार पर इसका विश्लेषण करिए, सिर्फ परसेप्शंस पे मत जाइए, डेटा को देखिए। जब आप डेटा को देखेंगे तो आपको लगेगा कि शुक्र है कि भारत में स्थिति बहुत हद तक ठीक है। जी, जो महिलाओं की स्थिति है, हमारे यहाँ पर केसेस हुए हैं और हम लोग खुलकर उसका विरोध करते हैं। मैं एक और सर्वे को पढ़ रही थी वहाँ का, जो मैंने बताया कि 7वीं से 12वीं क्लास के बच्चों का था सर्वे, और उसमें वो मतलब इतना नॉर्मलाइज किया गया है कि वो लड़का एक जैसे कहता है कि आई विल रेप यू, और उसको पुश करके बाथरूम की दीवार के साथ और अपना हाथ उसके ब्लाउज में डाल देता है। और कितनी वहां पर सुसाइड्स होती हैं, कितने ट्रॉमास, प्रेगनेंसी स्कूल्स में। ये डेटा हम चौंकाने वाले नहीं है। और भारत में समस्या है या किसी और देश में समस्या है, इसलिए यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका की बात ना की जाए, ये तो कोई मुझे लॉजिक ठीक लगता नहीं। एक ह्यूमन राइट्स संस्था को जहां पर भी वायलेशन हो रहा है वहां पर बात करनी चाहिए, वो चाहे भारत हो, वो चाहे अमेरिका हो या कोई और देश हो। कल को हम करेंगे, हम इंग्लैंड की भी करेंगे, फ्रांस की भी करेंगे, चाइना की भी करेंगे, सबकी करेंगे जहां जहां वायलेशंस हैं। कि अपनी रिपोर्ट को जिन भी ह्यूमन राइट्स के जो एक्टिविस्ट हैं, जिनकी ईमेल आईडीज हमें मिलेंगे, हम उन तक अपनी रिपोर्ट साझा करें। और पहले भी हम बीच में इंटरव्यू कई बार करते रहते हैं। कई बार जैसे अफगानिस्तान का इशू आया तो हमारी संस्था ने यूनाइटेड नेशंस को लिखा था। तो इसी तरह से हम अपना प्रयास करेंगे, लेकिन हम नई संस्था है, कितना प्रभाव कर पाएंगे मैं कुछ नहीं कह सकती। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ पर जो एक सिद्धांत है कि हम अपना काम कर रहे हैं, उसके प्रभाव को हम नहीं देख रहे, कितना हो पाएगा या नहीं। और प्रभाव नहीं होगा इसलिए काम ना करें तो वो भी ठीक नहीं है। तो प्रभाव तो समय बताएगा, और आप लोगों के माध्यम से प्रभाव भी होगा। सबसे बड़ी ताकत यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स की मीडिया है, और आज अगर हमारा मीडिया इन सब बातों को उठाएगा, अगर आप सब लोग इस बात को अच्छे से उठाएंगे, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये बात यूएसए तक पहुंचेगी, बहुत जल्दी पहुंचेगी, और उसको सोचना पड़ेगा कि अपने घर को ठीक करना है।
Thank you so much.
And India में character as like somebody, some politician, they are not accepting, and US presidents have accepted about their sexual misconduct, and they have also been they've got off the board. So आपकी जो report है, it seems very biased towards US, and I have seen your other आपका जो नेपाल, बांग्लादेश, पाकिस्तान, and also the Tibetan administrator has mentioned in your brochure that these agencies who are publishing these reports, so they are being funded. I'm not alleging anything. You have already clarified your position. You are doing your job. But see, we are not machines, Human intelligence से काम कर रहे हैं हम लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं. We can't just take everything as per your thing. It has to be. So आपकी जो report है, it's very good. It's very nice. I've been following India. आपने इंडिया की report नहीं करी है. As she has said, sir, इंडिया के 4 यहाँ हैं, श्रीलंका, बांग्लादेश, पाकिस्तान. Who's caring? India की position just to keep the political powers हैं वो गरीब देशों को, India wants to do supremacy. India के ऊपर दिखा रहा है आपको उनके reports. They have no meaning. If you want to do a report, do it on India first. अपने घर में जाके देखें आप पहले, then go beyond,
हमने ये देखा कि यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका ने कितने कोवेनेंट्स और ट्रीटीज जो यूएन के हैं उनको रेटिफाई किया है, और हमें जानकर अचंभा हुआ कि उन सारे के सारे कोवेनेंट्स का यहाँ पर उल्लंघन हो रहा था जिनको रेटिफाई कर रखा है। वो देश जिसने यूएन की स्थापना में पूरा योगदान दिया, वो उन सब का उल्लंघन करे तो उसकी जिम्मेदारी तो और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है। तो हमने जो कई महीने तक ये अध्ययन किया उसके अंदर ये बात ध्यान में आई कि सबसे पहले हमने देखा कि रेसिज्म, नस्लवाद पूरे जड़ तक घुसा हुआ है। 250 साल हो गए अमेरिका को आज़ाद हुए, वहाँ फ्रीडम की बात होती है, लिबर्टी की बात होती है, लेकिन उन लोगों को कब लिबर्टी मिलेगी? हमारे बुक के लेखक हैं अरविंद जी, उन्होंने वहाँ पर लॉ सूट किया, लॉ सूट फाइल किया, मिलेगा वहाँ पर। महिलाओं का आपने पूछा तो मैंने स्थिति बताई कि वहाँ पर सबसे ज़्यादा मुझे जो प्रॉब्लम वाली बात लगी कि शिक्षण संस्थाओं में, स्कूलों में, कॉलेजों में, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में महिलाओं के साथ दुर्व्यवहार हो रहा है और उसको नॉर्मल लिया जा रहा है। ये उससे ज़्यादा जो समाज के अंदर महिलाओं को लेकर रवैया है, ये और भी ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम है। अगर खुद भी थोड़ा सा भी स्टडी करेंगे, अध्ययन करेंगे तो पाएंगे तो कहीं ना कहीं अमेरिका की जो इच्छाएं हैं कि सबको कंट्रोल करे पूरे विश्व में, उसका वर्चस्व बना रहे, तो उसके कारण से कई जगह पर दिक्कतें हुई हैं। बार बार हमने देखा है कि यूएसए की तरफ से बयानबाजी आ जाती है, किसी भी देश में कुछ होता है, जैसे यूएसए की जिम्मेदारी हो कि उसको देखना है कि दुनिया में किस तरह से सब कुछ चलना चाहिए। तो मैंने कहा कि जो हमारा पॉलिटिकल वाला एंगल उसको नहीं लिया है, लेकिन रेफ्यूजीज़ जहाँ पर भी क्रिएट किए हैं और जहाँ पर भी वॉर में यूएसए का हाथ कहीं भी किसी तरीके से है, हम उसको अपनी रिपोर्ट में डेटा है भी और डेटा और भी हम इसको रिवाइज भी करते रहे। हमारी जो
इजराइल को भी इसमें
जारी है, हमारा अध्ययन अभी जारी है, इस पर आगे भी हम पेपर ला सकते हैं, इसको एक्सपेंड भी करेंगे और रिवाइज भी करेंगे।